Hey dear students, welcome to our YouTube channel Master Physics Academy. By learning physics here, you will definitely master physics. Today, I am going to discuss questions which has appeared in Comet K 2020. The test was held on 19/8/2020. The timing of the test was 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Please concentrate, go through the video thoroughly so that it is going to help you in the preparation of upcoming exams like NEET and JEE. So this is the first part of the series in which I am going to discuss question number 1 to question number 10. Now let us quickly look at question number 1. In question number 1, we have when a mass is rotating in a horizontal plane about a fixed point, its angular momentum is directed along. We know that the physical quantities like angular momentum, which is usually denoted by capital letter L, the torque, which is usually denoted by Greek letter tau, the angular velocity, which is usually denoted by Greek letter omega, and the angular acceleration, which is usually denoted by alpha, are all called as axial vectors. Why? Because they act along the axis of rotation. So the correct option we need to mark here is the angular momentum will be directed along the axis of rotation, which is given in option 2. The website also says the same option, that is option 2. Let us go to the next question, question number 2. T is the time period of revolution of a charged particle of mass m and charge q, moving with a velocity v in an uniform magnetic field B. If the magnetic field B is doubled, then the new time period T will be. The expression for time period of a charged particle which is revolving around in a uniform magnetic field is given by 2 pi m divided by qb, where m is the mass of the charged particle, q is the charge of the charged particle, and b is the external magnetic field. Here it is given that the magnetic field is going to get doubled. That means the new time period, that is t dash, is going to be 2 pi m divided by q into 2b. If you look at these two expressions, we can clearly say that the new time period will be t divided by 2, which is given in option 2, and the websites also marks the same option. Let us look at question number 3. Here in this question, it is given like the speed of electromagnetic waves in vacuum is given by 3 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second, and mu naught equals 4 pi into 10 to the power minus 7 Tesla per ampere. Then epsilon naught is given by the formula relating C, mu naught and epsilon naught is given by C is equal to 1 divided by root of mu naught epsilon naught. Please do remember this formula. If you write the formula for epsilon naught, what you are going to get is 1 divided by, so we are squaring this and simplifying for epsilon naught, so it is going to be 1 divided by mu naught times c squared. Now let us substitute the values. In the question itself, mu naught value is given, and please do remember this value because it's very important constant. Mu naught is 4 pi into 10 to the power minus 7 SI units into c squared, which is going to be 9 into 10 to the power 16. So if you look at the options, they have not simplified 4 pi. So no need to multiply 4 and 9 here. We need to just simplify the powers of 10. So it is going to be 1 divided by 4 pi into 9. So we have 10 power minus 7 and 10 power 16. If you multiply those two, we will be getting 10 to the power plus 9. So which is given in option 3. So websites also marks the same option. Let us go to the next question. Question number 4. 4 velocity time graphs are given below. The proper velocity time graph showing the journey of a ball during its time of flight if it is thrown vertically upwards with an initial velocity is. So we do have a ball here which is thrown up with some initial velocity, say v. As it moves up, its velocity go on decreasing because acceleration acting on it will be downwards, and it is constant whose value is 10 meter per second square. So every second its velocity decreases by 10 meter per second, and it will reach the highest point. There its velocity is going to be 0. Then after that it starts traveling downwards. Now also the acceleration due to gravity is downwards with the same value, that is 10 meter per second square. But the downward velocity will go on increasing, and what is the rate at which it is going to increase is 10 meter per second every second. So what we need to look at is the graph should be a straight line with a negative slope, because we have acceleration due to gravity downwards, and the velocity should have 0 value at some point, and it should be having negative values thereafter. So it should be a straight line because the acceleration, the slope of the velocity time graph gives acceleration, and it's not varying with magnitude and direction. So that will be depicted clearly in options 4, which is also given by the key answers in the website. Now let us go to the next question. The current sensitivity of a moving coil galvanometer is increased by 20%. The resistance also increases 1.5 times. Then the voltage sensitivity of the galvanometer will be. So the current sensitivity of the galvanometer is given by NBA divided by K, where N is the number of turns in the coils, B is the external magnetic field which will be radial, and it is provided by the concave poles, and A is the area of the coil which is used, and K is the torsional constant of the hairsprings which is used to bring back the pointer to the initial value once the power is cut off. Now the voltage sensitivity of a galvanometer is given by NBA divided by KR. That means we need to divide the current sensitivity IS by the resistance. Then we are going to get the voltage sensitivity. Now the new voltage sensitivity, let us say Vs dash, is going to be, here the current sensitivity is going to be increased by 20%. That means it is going to be 1.2 times the initial value, that is Is, divided by, it is given that the resistance is going to increase by 1.5 times. So it is going to be 1.5 initial value, that is R. So now we need to solve this. 1.2 divided by 1.5, we can write that as 12 divided by 15, right? So and Is by R is the old voltage sensitivity. So what is 12 divided by 15? So it is 3 4s are 12, 3 5s are 15, 4 by 5 is 0.8. So the new voltage sensitivity will be 0.8 times the old voltage sensitivity. That means it is going to be 80% of the old voltage sensitivity or the original value. So option 3 is the correct choice. Now let us look at the question number 6. Two thin lenses of power plus 6D and minus 2D are in contact. The focal length of the combination is. So we can easily evaluate the equivalent power, because it is given by sum of powers of individual lenses which are kept in contact. So here it is going to be plus 6D plus of minus 2D. So solving that, we will be getting 4D as the equivalent power. Then to get the equivalent focal length, we need to take the inverse of the equivalent power. So which is going to be 1 divided by 4 meters. So 1 divided by 4 meter is 0.25 meter. So the correct option is option 3. Let us look at question number 7 now. The angle between the axis of polarizer and analyzer is 45 degree. The ratio of intensities of original light and transmitted light after passing through the analyzer are. Now let us draw the diagram, which is not necessary, just to make you understand I am writing this. So we have first polarizer. polaride, first polaride, which is called as polarizer, and the second polaride will be usually called as analyzer. Now it is not clearly mentioned that what kind of light is falling on polarizer. So in such cases, it is better to take unpolarized light falling on the polarizer. So definitely after passing through the polarizer, the intensity of the light will be of the value of initial value of intensity, and it is going to be polarized now. Now a polarized light is falling on analyzer. Now in order to get the intensity of light passing through this analyzer, we should apply Malus law, which says intensity of incident polarized light times cos square angle between the pass axis of the analyzer and the polarizer, which is given as 45 degree. So if you substitute and solve this, I naught by 2, we know that cos 45 is 1 by root 2, squaring that will be getting 1 by 2. So finally the intensity of light coming out of the analyzer is going to be I naught by 4. But in the question they are asking the ratio of intensity of original light, that is I naught to the transmitted light after passing through the analyzer. So just now we calculated it, it is I naught by 4. So solving this will be getting answer as 4:1, which is mentioned in option 1. Now let us look at question number 8. So Fermi is equal to, according to me this question is wrong, because in the first PU syllabus it is clearly mentioned when we are going to mention the unit in full form, the first letter should be small letter. So this means unit. If we write like this, it is going to be the name of the scientist. Fermi is the name of the scientist here. Fermi is the unit of length here. So Fermi means 10 to the power minus 15 meter. So if they have given like this, definitely I would say option 2 is the right choice. I strongly feel that they should give grace mark for this question, because they have mentioned Fermi, which is the name of the scientist. Let's go to the next question. The particle of charge Q is moving inside a uniform magnetic field B with a velocity v, making an angle theta with the direction of magnetic field B. The path of the particle is, it's just a question which you can just opt for option 2, but I will just give the briefing because it may appear in the competitive exams which are coming like NEET and JEE. So you should know it a little more explained. So here we have a uniform magnetic field. A particle enters the region having uniform magnetic field with say velocity v, making an angle theta with the magnetic field. Such a particle will move in the region with this path which is helical. So the option which is correct here is option 2. Now let us go to the last question in this part. Question number 10. Question number 10. If a bar magnet is cut into 2 equal pieces along its length, then. So if you look at the options, they are asking to find what is going to be the new pole strength and new magnetic moment. In all options it is mentioned magnetic moment and pole strength. So they are just asking what is going to happen for these two physical quantities. So let us consider the diagram. Before cutting, the magnet was like this. Okay, so it has been cut along the length of the magnet, bar magnet. Now we will be getting two identical bar magnets having the same length of the length as the initial magnet, but its breadth has been reduced to half. Now definitely the pole strength has to get reduced to half. Okay, because pole strength will be reduced to half because we have cut along its length. Now the magnetic dipole moment, which directly depends on how many magnetic poles are there, magnetic dipoles are there inside a stuff or inside the magnet. So it is also going to get reduced to half. Hence definitely the magnetic dipole moment is going to get reduced to half. But I think they should give the grace mark for this question also. Why? Because in the NCERT textbook, they have clearly mentioned that they are not going to use this approach where magnetic monopoles are discussed, because they do not exist in nature. So that is the reason they have given in the NCERT book. So I feel they should give the grace marks, because this concept is out of syllabus according to my knowledge. But if you go with the usual concept, in some other reference books, they have taken this concept. If you go by that method, definitely answer will be option 2. Both pole strength and magnetic moment becomes off. Dear students, thanks for watching. Please do subscribe our channel, share it, like it if you feel this was helpful. All the very best for your upcoming exams. Do well. ಒಳಿತಾಗಲಿ, ಶುಭವಾಗಲಿ.